Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about 1989's Shocker and its brand new 4K Blu-ray that just came out. But before we get into that 4K Blu-ray review, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you want to know nothing about the film Shocker, you're just here for the 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So Shocker was written and directed by Wes Craven, was released on October 27th, 1989. It stars Peter Berg, who a lot of people will probably recognize that name from the guy who directed movies like The Rundown, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, Mile 22, Friday Night Lights from 2004. So Peter Berg really went on to become a great director, a well-respected director, and this movie also stars Mitch Pileggi, who I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, who will always be Skinner from the X-Files for me, but in this movie, this is a very different person than Skinner, and this is the kind of movie that I can't guarantee that everybody loves this movie, because if I put my critic hat on for a moment and look at this movie through a critical lens, it's got all the flaws of a bad movie, but I absolutely love this movie, and a lot of that probably has to come down to my love for 80s films, the ridiculousness of this movie, the over-the-top nature of it, the overacting, everything I love about cheesy and bad 1980s films is in this movie, so when I watch this movie, I have an absolute blast. But can I recommend this movie to you guys? It's really tough. How do you guys feel about these 1980s movies? Because one thing about Wes Craven that's strange with this movie is he left the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise in 1984, and he didn't go back until 1994, and a lot of that was he didn't like the direction of that franchise. But this movie feels like a bad Nightmare on Elm Street sequel, which is very strange. People have even said that he wanted to go make his own type of film like that, but for Universal Pictures instead of New Line Cinema, and I guess that makes a lot of sense because the acting in this movie, as much as I love Peter Berg, the director, he is not a good actor, and especially in this film, he has one note, and it just feels like he's a doofus. He's like an airhead, he's just kind of out of it all the time, and this is supposed to be our main protagonist. You're really there for the main antagonist, Horace Pinker, and this guy, the way that this role is played is just completely over the top. Again, another character with one gear. Be as scary, menacing, bang out one-liners, that's finger-licking good. Do all that as much as possible throughout this movie. You know, it's one of those things, though, as the movie starts to build up, we start to peel back layers of the story, because in the early part of this movie, we're trying to figure out how does Horace Pinker have this connection to this kid, this high school kid, because he sees this guy's going out there killing families. We have the child killer in A Nightmare on Elm Street. In this movie, he just wipes out entire families, and they can't catch him. And finally, one day, he kills Jonathan Parker, Peter Berg's character's family, except for his foster father. He killed his foster sisters, and he killed his foster sister, brother, and mother, but they left the father, and they left Peter Berg to live. And why is that? And right before that happened, Peter Berg had a vision, like a dream almost, where he saw these killings happening, and he essentially communicated with the killer. They wiped that away, saying, you got a concussion earlier because you ran into the pole, so that's why you're seeing that. Then he comes home and he finds out, no, his family was killed by this guy. And he makes it his mission saying, like, I saw it. And he's able to use these visions and eventually find Pinker, take him down. He gets the electric chair, but oh my god. But before he goes into the electric chair, it is the 1980s, so let's throw in some, I don't know what this is called, like some witchcraft, some magic or whatever. So somehow he's able to, like, perform this thing with a TV, with the electricity of the TV. And some big lips come out, and it's... You got it, baby. Again. Love that. It's so ridiculous, makes no sense. And then, of course, he goes and gets the electric chair, and they can't put him down. Like, they just can't. And then it turns into, from this point on, because eventually I guess he does die, or he somehow has his soul leave his body, and this movie becomes a body-swapping movie at this point, where Pinker somehow, with that black magic, has found a way where he can jump body to body. And then from that point on, you think, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. What else can they do? Well, eventually, towards the end of this movie, both him and Peter Berg's character, because it's revealed that Pinker is Peter Berg's character's father, at least that's how I read this, because this movie, as much as I love this movie, it's not well written. One thing you have to do in a movie is it can be over the top, but you have to establish rules. And this movie does not establish any rules. As the movie goes on, they just keep adding more and more to it, like almost just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. And it just leaves all sorts of logic just left out. Like, at least you got to follow your own rules of the film. But this one, they just keep adding layers to what Pinker can do. And that's how we end up with the final sequence when the two of them jump into the TV set and they're just going channel to channel fighting each other. Like, they're fighting in the background of all these big TV hits. Like, 5 years before Forrest Gump could appear on TV, they were doing this in 1989, and this movie, shocker, and it's ridiculous. It's played just pretty much for laughs, I assume. Like, this movie is definitely a horror action comedy. It's got a bunch of different genres in there, all of which I don't know if it fully commits to any of them. In my first mind, when I first think about this movie, the first thing I think of is a horror movie, a horror slasher villain like Pinker. But the way it's played and how they end up in the TV fighting each other, it's just done so ridiculously. But I love every second of it. That ending sequence when they're fighting on the TV is so damn entertaining, and it raises the question, can a movie just be entertaining even though it breaks like all the movie rules of like what you know a good screenplay is, what a well-directed film is? Because this movie does look good. The actors are playing their roles correctly, except for maybe Peter Berg. I really felt like there was a better option to go there. And I feel bad saying that because I do like Peter Berg, the director. But seeing him in this movie and him and his girlfriend, I'm like, man, they're just so bad. But is that the point? I have to always ask that question. Like, what was Wes Craven going for with this movie? Because at the end of the day, it feels like this like 1980s hair metal music video. I mean, we got Alice Cooper songs in here. Again, all music I love all that. But are you guys going to enjoy this movie? That's really the question that I ask, is because, this movie made $16 million at the box office. It doesn't come up that often. It's got a cult following. But if you're somebody who's never seen this film and I recommend it to you, you're going to be like, yo, John, that movie's dog shit. And I have to be like, yeah, it probably is, but I absolutely love it. So it's really tough with this movie. I know there's other people who love this movie as well. But it really does it causes a confliction in me because it goes against everything I know about film and a good movie. But then somehow I still absolutely love this film. So it's really tough for me just to separate the critic and the fan of this movie. Because if I look at it through a critical lens, yeah, it's a bad movie. But if I look at it as an enjoyable film, one I can recommend if you're in for a good time, you love the cocaine 80s, definitely check out the movie Shocker. And hey, let's talk about this brand new Scream Factory 4K Blu-ray that just came out. And here it is, Shocker on 4K Blu-ray, and this is going to be upgrading my 2015 Shocker Blu-ray, also from Scream Factory. And this artwork that's on here, this is not reversible on the new 4K Blu-ray, so this is the last of this artwork. And back when Scream Factory used to do this, we used to have the interior box art. This is something that a lot of people still ask for just because 4K Blu-ray cases, they're in black now, so you're not going to be able to have that same interior artwork, which is kind of a shame. It's just something that we lost when we went to 4K Blu-ray, and, I know a lot of people do miss that, including myself. Sometimes with the Paramount Presents, they have that because they use those clear cases. But the Shocker 4K Blu-ray, it came with a nice slipcover, same artwork underneath, which is just a movie poster. It's understandable. And when you come inside, you get a 4K and a Blu-ray, and that Blu-ray is not the same previously released Blu-ray. So earlier this week we talked about The Sixth Sense. They just packed in the previously released Blu-ray. No, this Blu-ray is actually the new scan of this movie, which surprised me. I didn't expect them to go that route. They also commissioned new extras, so everything I always ask for, they actually included on this 4K Blu-ray. We have, I believe, 3 new interviews and a new audio commentary track. One of those interviews is with Peter Berg, so that's pretty cool. And it also includes all the stuff that was previously released on that Blu-ray, which includes a interview with Mitch Pileggi, which is what I really wanted to see, and it's just cool to get into his mindset of how he became this character, because again, it's so different from the X-Files Skinner character. I just can't believe they're the same guy, but hey, that's acting, isn't it? And you get that interview on here as well. You also get an old making of that came out, I guess, around when the film was coming out, because even the font in front of Wes Craven's that old font where it's like blue and then underneath it's just yellow with like a black border, and it's fun like watching this. It's only 8 minutes long, and I would obviously like a new 2024 looking back, but it's the movie Shocker. I wouldn't expect that. But to still have that old, like, 8-minute making of and just seeing, like, the old footage, I love that stuff as well. So the extras on here are pretty damn good, and they gave us new extras, so I have no complaints when it comes to the extras. I was very happy about that. The audio, I believe, is the same. They both have a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 that's on the Blu-ray, the previously released Blu-ray, and that 4K Blu-ray, and there's some other audio tracks as well. I went with the DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. It's pretty damn good, so if it is the same audio track, they sound very similar to me, so I'm going to assume they are. It's a good one. I don't really have any complaints about it. If I'm sitting back on my couch, I can hear them actually moving stuff around, which I really did appreciate. So it's actually a pretty well-mixed DTS HD Master Audio. Everything comes in crisp and clear. It's tough to complain about these audio tracks because they never really have any issues. It's just there's points where I want more out of them. but you can't give something a bad grade when they hit the mark of, hey, everything's clear, you don't have to adjust the volume, and you don't have to do that with this one. And then when you get to the visuals, now this is the biggest upgrade for me. You get HDR10 and Dolby Vision, and when you go from that Blu-ray to the new Blu-ray, that right there is just night and day, just because of the colors. Like this becomes a much more colorful film than it was on the previously released Blu-ray. The colors looked a little bit faded, and I had no issues with that Blu-ray. When I popped it in to do the review, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's a pretty good Blu-ray. So if you have that 2015 Blu-ray, it's really not bad. But the new Blu-ray and the new 4K Blu-ray, they just fix any issues that they would have had. All of the colors. You'll notice this right in the beginning with the red jerseys, the red hat that the coach is wearing. Like, that looks more of a natural red, a more realistic red. Now, like everything in the previous Blu-ray, it just has a little bit slight fade to it. Now, in the 4K Blu-ray, when we go from this new Blu-ray scan to the 4K Blu-ray, you know, if you're comparing those two in the same box, it's not the world's biggest jump because you do get that new scan on the Blu-ray, and that is a really good Blu-ray. So that new 1080p Blu-ray is actually really good. So when you go to 4K Blu-ray, it's really just for the high dynamic range, and that's where we're just going to be hitting the deep blacks, and the colors are just going to be a little bit brighter. They're going to pop off your screen just a little bit more, and that's where you're going to notice a little bit more detail, like on the skin especially, and it doesn't look unnatural. We maintain the film grain, so it doesn't look like any DNR was used. So everything looks natural and not waxy. And as far as these visuals go, I was very, very, very surprised at how much effort Scream Factory put into the movie Shocker, which I guess makes sense. They put this movie back out in 2015, so they know there are fans of this movie. But I really didn't expect to get as spoiled as I did with the movie Shocker. So if there are any other fans out there of the film Shocker, and they're really looking forward to this 4K Blu-ray, I can promise you will not be disappointed with this one. It is one of my favorite 4K Blu-ray releases of 2024. But again, circling back to my film review, it's just because it's a movie that I absolutely love, and it got all the bells and whistles. But for you to pick up this 4K Blu-ray, it's really going to come down to how do you feel about 1989's Wes Craven's Shocker. If you're a fan, I can say, hey, pick this one up at full price. If it's a movie you've never seen and you're blind buying it, you know, maybe check it out on streaming first, because, hey, this might not be one for you. It's not it's not the greatest movie. You really got to be a fan of, like, cheesy, over-the-top 1980s films. But if you are a fan of this movie, what would I give this 4K Blu-ray on a score of 1 to 10? I'm going to give this one a very, very solid 9 out of 10. And guys, it's also Friday. That means it's time for our digital code giveaway. In every single video that we do here on Friday, I ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you gotta do is answer 1. As long as you do that, you come back to Tuesday's video. I put your name on a magic wheel. We spin that wheel 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, and they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And I figured, hey, we're talking Wes Craven. I believe I already asked you guys what your favorite Wes Craven movie was, but I wanted to ask you guys, what is a movie that you love that most people don't love? So what's a movie that you love but other people probably hate? You know, we all have those movies that we just absolutely love, but not everybody else feels the same way about those movies. And then, of course, you know, spooky season just ended. We're going into November. I believe today is November 1st, the time you guys are watching this. Is there any horror movies that you guys have to watch every single November? If there's not, just answer the first question. But let me know in the comments section below. And then while you guys are down there, don't forget to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. And then, of course, we also have channel membership. So if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel, like Jed Ecker, John Doe Juggalo, or you can even become a channel director like Mr. Smelly Potato and Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews. And don't forget, guys, Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews and John Doe Juggalo have YouTube channels as well that you guys should absolutely check out. But if you got no money to throw away, don't worry about it. We just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.